What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be showing you how to remove the front and rear wheel on this 2007 Yamaha FZ6. To me, it's a pretty essential skill, and it's not much harder than changing a wheel on a car, but there's a couple more tricks and tips I got for you about how to take them off and how to make it go smoothly for yourself. So let's get into it. First, we're going to start on the front. So to get the front wheel off, we have to drop the calipers off because they hit the rim if you try and drop the wheel out without taking them off. To get the brakes off, you need a 12mm here and here. And you got to repeat that on the other side. You also want to loosen up your brake hose right here so you can get it out of the way. Next, to get the axle out, you need a 19mm Allen head, or use a 1/2" bolt which has a 19 roughly millimeter head. It's very close. I've just basically taken a 1/2" bolt, put 2 nuts on it, bound them together, and then I put that in my socket to turn it left. Before you do the 19, you need to do the 6mm on the front here. Pretty easy, Allen head, it's not that tight, you should be able to break it loose. And then you twist the axle out and pull it out. To get my wheel up in the air, I basically have a bunch of things in my top case pushing down on the rear wheel so my front wheel can be in the air. But if you don't have that, you could take a jack under your engine somewhere, find a strong spot, and just lightly support it off the ground. Let's get it. Keep a zip tie handy to prevent the caliper from hanging on the brake line. The torque specs for the front end here are 29 foot-pounds for the caliper to fork leg, 52 foot-pounds for the axle going across the wheel, the big 19, and it's 17 foot-pounds for the pinch bolt here. If you have an ABS module, this is 14 foot-pounds for the pinch bolt. That's the only difference I saw in the manual. Alright, taking off the rear wheel is pretty simple. You need a 32mm socket or use the supplied tool that comes with your Yamaha toolkit. Loosen this off, take the nut and the washer entirely out and start pushing the axle across the other side. Once you push the tip of the axle through the swing arm here, the tire will want to droop to the side, so maybe shove a foot under the tire to prop it up so it doesn't send it cockeyed and make it more difficult to get out. You need to be mindful of the rear caliper over there when you're taking off the rear wheel, because the rear caliper slides on a slot in the swing arm to locate it on the rear wheel. So be mindful of that so you don't yank on the brake cable. Once you start walking the wheel back with the axle out, you can basically just hold the caliper, and I often rest it on the passenger foot peg there while I get the wheel out, and then I put it back in its place with the axle to hold everything where it should be so I'm not kinking a brake line or anything like that. You don't have to loosen off your chain slack adjustment measurements because you'll basically pull the axle all the way out, roll it forward, loop the chain off, then roll the wheel back. Alright, getting the rear wheel in is a little bit of a negotiation. Like I said, you gotta get that, gotta get your rear brake in place. This is how I like to do it though. Get the brake in its slot, and then roll the wheel forward, and try not clip one of the cups that locate the sides of the wheels, and knock those out of place, because that's a pain. What's it binding on? Oh, it's the chainsaw. Okay. Oh, it's the brake pads. There we go. Now, everything's lined up, as in you've got the chain on here, it'll go on in a sec. Your cup isn't interfering with your rear subframe, check that. And your pads on your rotor, your brake pads are situated on your rotor just fine. That's pretty good. Now you get out your axle, slide it from the right. Basically, I put on my chain first, like that, so I could roll it back a little further. And now you have to negotiate the rear wheel in on the right first. I use my feet to kind of bring it up, bring it down, scoot it around, and it's a pretty good spot right there. You don't gotta be perfect, you just gotta get it close. There we go. Got it started. Move over here. Now, this can be a bit of a pain because this is what happens. You'll pull up and the top of the cup here will hit. So you kind of have to push your finger in, push on the cup just so it can straighten up. And now, bop it through. Come on. There we go. Now, put your block on, what you want, Britt. Oh, it's too close, that's why, Britt. Oh, there we go. Slap your washer on, slap your nut on. Alright, now that you got your rear wheel back in the frame, you have to torque down the lug after you ensure that the blocks that determine your chain slack are pushed all the way forward against the adjustment. I like to use a little piece of wood and a hammer here just to tap them forward lightly to ensure they seat against the bolt that I've already adjusted. Now is a good time to check your chain slack and make sure it hasn't changed or something like that. I've already checked mine, it's good to go. So this torque spec is 87 foot-pounds for this big nut here. You can use a torque wrench, but it's important so that you don't put too much load on the bearings when you compress the rear axle here. So that's a wrap on the wheel removal and installation on this 2007 Yamaha FZ6. I hope this cleared up some of the finer details of this job. It does require kind of some unique tools like that 19mm Allen for the front or that 32mm socket for the back, unless you don't want to use the Yamaha supplied tools. So you might need to collect those things, but it's certainly good things to have when you're working on your own bike. If you have any questions or any struggles with this job, as always, please just drop it in a comment down below. I do my best to answer all the questions. If this video helped you out, please smash the like and subscribe button. It really helps me out. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day.